It's recording. I am going to share. No. Amanda's coming in.
You're still all hosty.
Okay.
I have no control over anything. But it also, I mean, technically, they're not trying to share. There's two people.
They're not going to.
So,
Okay, great. And I'm also going to log in here. Okay, cool. On yet. I could have done that too.
You're unmuted.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're so glad you're here. We're going to have about 20-ish minutes as people come in, they settle, they get their lunch, and then we'll begin. But I'm just wanted you to know you're in. So I don't know if you're like me, that you get nervous as you wait for the Zoom. But welcome. We're happy to see you.
Yeah,
Dewberry spot.
that would be nice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on the.
Oh, you're such a sweetie. You are. Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy you're here. So we are having everybody get food, and then we'll sit down and we'll start this talk in about 10 minutes. Thank you, Amanda. Look, she's so smart. So we're going to start in about 10 minutes. Get your own lunch, make yourselves comfortable in your home. We're so pain. And
Hello, everybody. My name is Antoinette, and I know I've seen some familiar faces from last week. I went over kind of what Brookdale Meridian is, which is a CCRC, so a continuing care retirement community. So meaning we have all care levels, but I just wanted to touch base. Our community focuses on the 6 dimensions of life. And those 6 dimensions are intellectual, spiritual, emotional, social, purposeful, and physical. So that's kind of what what our foundation is based off of. And then I will leave these handouts over back. So if you wanted to pick one up, feel free. If you have any questions about what this looks like, I have my card as well. And I know Melody is working hard, but I just wanted to thank her for putting this together. And yeah, enjoy this speech.
And I want to welcome you. You all know who I am. I'm Jamie Sarche. I'm the director of pre-planning at Feldman Mortuary, but I do want to point out that we have Tomas here today also. Melody is working so hard, and we're so grateful that you're having us here. And Antoinette is so lovely that we're getting gifts every week. So please consider having a tour after one of these weeks. Please go on a tour, and please do tell your people if they are looking for places. You know, we all get to a time when we're like, I don't want to do the yard work anymore. I need more support. That when that happens, please start looking here. Because I mean, I have just been so impressed by how kind and welcoming everyone is. I walked in today and there were really cute people sitting in the entryway just chatting and really chatting with me. So it felt really good. It's a welcoming place, which isn't always true. So please do take a tour, and thank you so much for having us. I didn't get a chance to eat last week, but I heard lunch was delicious. And I'm looking forward to actually being able to eat this time. And something weird is happening with the Zoom, it looks like. But thank you for being here today. So it looks like lunch is ready for us to go ahead and get. And then I'll introduce Amanda as soon as everybody sits back down. Is that okay?
And I'd just like to thank our chef Brent and Bailey, who's back there. They've put together such a great spread, and I hope you all can enjoy. Yes, of course.
Doors dropped.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, folks, some technical issues here.
Oh, that's so weird.
We can't hear. We don't have any audio.
Okay, here we're gonna get started. Thank you for your patience. It's hard to be on the Zoom and you're missing out on the delicious food that we have here today. So everybody, thank you so much for coming. I'm so happy to see all of you. I'm really excited for today's presentation. Amanda Varga and I have known each other a long time. She is super special and does so much for our community. And you're going to really learn a lot from her. And I really want to invite you to think about some issues that you're dealing with and see, what you need to get out of this, because that's just incredibly important. Caregivers really just don't always get their needs met. And a lot of what they do is push their needs away because they're so busy taking care of the person they're taking care of. So it's so important that you learn about advocating for the person you're caregiving for, but also for yourself in this process. So we're going to learn a lot from Amanda today. And take it away.
Okay. Well, hi guys, and I'm a mom, so I'm hoping you all can hear me, and I'm hoping you guys can hear me. This is as loud as it's probably going to get. But thank you to Jamie for putting this together. I actually met Jamie for the first time at a Before the Mourning series years ago when I attended one. And it's kind of cool to be able to speak at one now. I love that. It's a true honor for me to be able to do that. So I'm excited about this. I get to share some hopefully good information for caregivers advocating for themselves and for others. And I've known Melody, and I'm excited to know Antoinette, and Brookdale's done an amazing job with the food. So yay, we're all here. Thank you to everybody. But really the big important thank you all for coming to my half birthday celebration. That is why there's Tootsie Rolls. I told Melody she's fine later. So I am an August 7 birthday. And as a child with an August 7 birthday, you don't get to bring treats to school for your birthday. So I got to bring treats on my half birthday. And half birthdays are a thing in my family. My brother and sister have not yet acknowledged my half birthday. And if you don't acknowledge a half birthday, it's like a year of shame. My kids on their half birthdays, there would be donuts waiting for them when they got up. I'd get up early, go get donuts. I mean, there's no party, there's no presents. It's an acknowledgement. And so I brought y'all Tootsie Rolls on my half birthday. That's why they're there. So if you don't celebrate your half birthday, you should. It's a thing. There's really any reason to celebrate something, I think, is a good reason. And if it involves cupcakes or donuts or candy, it's even better. So as Jamie said, my name is Amanda, and I am the owner of CareTrex. And before we jump into today's topic, which is being an advocate, I want to give you a little bit of background on me and why CareTrex exists. And I think that will help maybe emphasize the importance of this issue as caregivers and how we advocate for ourselves and our loved ones. So education-wise, I have a social work degree. I went to school for international business and left with a social work degree. That's a whole other story. Professionally, since college, you can divide my experience into two main categories. There's the corporate side. There's a lot of human resources. I was a PHR and HR generalist, operations, admin. I've been doing marketing and networking for the last 6 years. And then there's the professional caregiving side. I have worked with special needs kiddos. I have worked in brain injury supported living, from entry-level hands-on direct care, believe me, you name it, I've done it, all the way up to running the community. I worked in home care. On the admin side, I helped run the office. It was operations, the hiring, the training, the tracking, the home assessments, that stuff. But everybody picks up a shift now and then in home care. And I was an on-call, as needed, overnight awake hospice sitter. The title that's this long. That means I would get a call during the day and her family needed a break. They had a loved one who was actively dying, and that family maybe needed to step back and go get some hot showers and a real meal and sleep tonight. But they wanted to know their loved one had someone awake next to them. That was me. And I would make coffee and I would sit and hold hands, sit and, read, sit and make sure the music was playing, whatever it was. So all of that experience became very, very personal in July of 2014. We moved my in-laws from the Central Coast of California into our home in Westminster. And that next month in August, my kiddos started 4th, 5th, and 12th grades. So we had 7 people ranging in age from 9 to 83. And our anticipation was that this would be a home sharing experience, some oversight. We'll make sure everything's okay. We knew there were some issues, but you know, hey, they've been living on their own for so long, we're sure it'll be fine. I gave my mother-in-law a shower for the first time on our trip from California to Colorado because we realized she was not taking care of her own hygiene needs. And by the time we got home, realized this is not cohabitation. This is going to be full-on caregiving. So I stopped working. I became their full-time in-home 24/7 caregiver. They've done this, right? There was nothing they needed, and they needed a lot. There was nothing they needed that I hadn't done. I had showered people, toileted people, managed medication, built care teams, done all of this. So it made sense for me to step into this caregiving role. Guys, it was hard. Mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. If you've been a caregiver for any length of time, it's a lot. And I spiraled for a little while. We did this for 7.5 years. It was a long time of our life. But I started to wonder, you know, if I'm struggling with this, do I have the knowledge? How are people doing this who don't have that background? And that's where the ideas for Care Treks came about, because there were people in this world who yesterday were going about their business. Accountants, and school teachers, and police officers, and surgeons, and attorneys, and they have kids and spouses and jobs and church life and social activities. And today they're a caregiver. Boom. Somebody fell, somebody got sick, somebody can't go home. That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with all of a sudden. And so Care Treks, my focus is on the caregiver. Where most services and senior services, older adult services, whatever words you want to use, they're focused on that older adult. As it should be. I have shifted, so my focus is on the caregiver. Because based on my professional and my personal experience, if a family caregiver has what they need, knowledge, skills, resources, and they feel confident and competent with those, you have an older adult that's going to get better care. Whether that care is in mom and dad's house and the caregiving child is overseeing services, or that caregiving is happening in a family member's home, or caregiving is happening in a Brookdale or another community care setting. Those family caregivers are still caregivers, no matter where that person is living, if they're overseeing care, if they're involved in that person's life. And so Care Treks is focused on what's right for that family. It is never a one size fits all. So I take time, I work over Zoom. So family members from around the country can come in and be involved in the conversation. I work in families' homes, in their caregiving setting, to help them make sure they've kind of got the nuts and bolts of this and fill in the gap. So that's what I do with Care Treks. And that is why this topic today is so important. Because a lot of us, let's face it, we're not natural advocates for ourselves or anyone else. We might be the ones who we're not going to talk about, we're just going to feel fine. Or we don't know what to do with the frustration and it comes out all wrong and then we don't solve anybody's problems. So those are some of the things we're going to talk about today. How to research your care service providers, what questions to ask, and first and foremost, how to communicate with those service providers. So this whole topic, I know it's really long. Ask the question, the answer, do it again. My grandmother was an Army cadet nurse, where she got her training, how she got her training, and in her generational training as a woman and as a nurse, you do not question the doctor. No, the doctor says do this, you do that. The doctor says this is what we're doing, that is what you're doing. You don't question that. And that training, that ingrained mindset, went with her for decades. And as she was taking care of my grandfather, who was insulin dependent diabetic, ended up on dialysis, had a pacemaker. I know my mom and her sisters get frustrated sometimes, like, well, did you ask the doctor about this? Did you ask why this? No, because the doctor said this. And the end of conversation. The doctor said, so this is what we do. And that followed her after my grandfather had passed away. She was taking care of herself and going to her doctor's appointments, but the doctor said when. And if my aunts were like, well, did you ask about and what? No. said this. I want you to know on no uncertain terms, you can question your doctor. You should question your doctor. And when you ask the questions and they give you an answer, question the answer until you're comfortable. Go ahead.
Have them give it to you in writing,
Right?
so you can understand in your language what it means, what he said.
Absolutely. Ask for questions, ask for clarification, ask for demonstration. We're going to talk about that. That's exactly it. But if you're going to advocate, you need to be okay with asking the questions. So what is an advocate? Dictionaries are great. Dictionary.com is great now these days. These two definitions. An advocate is a person who speaks or writes in support or defense of a person or cause. And my mental image is someone standing up. I am going to speak on your behalf. This next one, person who pleads for or on behalf of another, an intercessor. I picture more on their knees, like, okay, please, can we make this work? What do we do? And as a family caregiver, we do both. But we need to regulate that. Our insides, our hearts, our soul, maybe, but our body and our language needs to be, I have some questions about what you said. Can we clarify some things? There's both pieces of that. And our loved ones who we are caring for, they need three things from us as their advocate. They need us to speak on their behalf. They need us to ask the questions that they can't. And the third one's the big one. They need us to do number one and number two without alienating everyone around us. That's the hardest one. It really is. And why is that so hard? Well, because as a caregiver, those people who weren't caregivers yesterday and they are today, turns out they wouldn't have taken the class in college that was learn how to give grandpa a shower in case someday he needs help with that. Or how to take your mom to the bathroom while preserving her dignity and yours. And when you're 19, 20, 21, Medicare, Medicaid, maybe you've heard those words, maybe not. But the day you become a caregiver, maybe the day you realize Medicare doesn't pay for memory care. Stop. What? Imagine. So you have people who are living their lives, doing their career, working with their families, doing all this stuff, and now they're learning things they never knew they were going to have to learn. That causes a little bit of chaos in the mind of a family caregiver. And as if chaos isn't enough, turns out this whole caregiving thing, this whole senior services thing, we have our own language. There are acronyms. Melody and I were talking about this in the elevator. There are acronyms in this world that exist in other fields mean something different. There are words we use in this field that outside of healthcare mean something different. And so you've got the chaos of all the new things, you have the confusion of the new language. And because we like things in threes, we're going to pressurize that a lot of it. I am a firstborn oldest daughter. I was born with an innate sense of guilt. And it just gets stronger every day. But as a family caregiver, especially in a 3-generation household, there's a phrase that guilt is a caregiver's constant companion. So true. Because no matter who you're helping or what task you are doing, there is someone else you could be helping or something else you could be doing that may be just as important. And it's typically not right or wrong, good or bad, black or white. It's priority in the moment. So if I'm helping my mother-in-law in the bathroom, which is not a fast exercise, am I not helping my daughter with her spelling words because she's really struggling with IE and EI? If I'm working a little bit on my paying job because it's nice to have the lights on in my house, is my washing machine going, the dishwasher going, what are we having for dinner tonight? And somebody's got a doctor's appointment tomorrow. There's always something else. And so we have all of this. We have the confusion, we have the chaos, we have the guilt. But we have to find a way to not allow that to be our excuse, take it out on other people. Sometimes it stinks and sometimes it's hard, but how we interact with our other care providers is going to impact the care that our loved one receives. So we can't allow our chaos, confusion, and guilt cause that angerness, pettiness, angerness, I think I made up a word, and bad behavior. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. You know, you hear people say, well, it's good to be assertive, don't be aggressive. Okay, what does that mean? So we're gonna put this into a different scenario. And if you hear yourself in this, I didn't know that. It's just a little bit. I didn't do this with you specifically in mind, but let's imagine, so next week is Valentine's Day. And you have had a night plan. Maybe you're going out to a fancy dinner with your loved one, with your child, with your parent, with your best friend, whoever it is you are going out with. It's a big night. You're getting dressed up, made reservations. It's a nice restaurant, like candles and really good food. And so you get to your restaurant with your whoever your person is. Sit down and the menu smells good, and it's, you know, that damn little chit chat of people around you, and you make your order, your favorite meal, and you're talking, you're having a good time, and your meal's brought to you, and it's wrong. It's not what you ordered, or it's not how you ordered it. You wanted medium well, and they gave it to you medium rare. You wanted the fish, they brought you steak. Something's wrong. How are you going to handle that? Okay, if you're not comfortable at all in an advocate position, you're just going to be quiet and eat it. But it's going to kind of ruin the night, right? That part of you is like, my perfect night is done. If you are being assertive, which is what we're going for here, that's standing up for someone, on behalf of someone, you're going to stand up on behalf of yourself, and you're going to say, excuse me, I'm sorry, this isn't my food, or I'm sorry, this isn't how I ordered it. And what's going to happen? Your waiter's probably going to apologize. I'm so sorry. Let me take that. I'm going to make it right. And dessert's on you. Stood up for yourself. You're getting chocolate cake. It's a pretty good stuff, really. Now, some people can't just do that because this has been a big night. This is a big event. This is really important. You've poured your soul into this night. And instead, and we're going to ramp it up a little bit, this isn't my food. You're incompetent. Do they not train you? Now, what's the result going to be? They're probably going to apologize. You're going to take your food. They're going to make it right. You still get chocolate cake. You're ramped up. Your person is ramped up, and probably like a table or two around you, they're a little jacked up too. Okay, same result with the food, but you didn't have to negatively all these people around you. And then there's the next ones. And I'm not a cusser. I just can't. That guilt thing has a lot to do with it. But this is going to be louder and really pretty language. Louder, and it's more, and it's just a lot. What's the result going to be? You're probably going to get an apology now, maybe from the manager too. You're going to get the right food, and you still get chocolate. However, now you are really ramped up. Your person is wondering if they go to the bathroom, can they sneak out the back and not come back? The tables around you have had their evening definitely impacted, and your waiter is going to provide a different type of service to the rest of the shift, even if he's trying not to. You have done that by your reaction, which didn't get you a better result, but you did this by your reaction. And then there's this one. Oh, seriously? All I want. For so long, I'm leaving. I will make peanut butter and jelly and going home. I can't even. Whiny. Let me show you what I brought. Here we go. This is at my house. $5 fine for whining. Guys, I don't do whining. Whining's not cool. Whining is not okay. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Probably not. $5 fine for whining. It's in my kitchen. Because what has that done? You have ruined your own eating. It is not somebody else's fault. You did this. You could have handled it differently in the beginning. So, what do we else need to remember? Now, obviously, I put that into a food situation, but we get that same way with care providers, don't we? With caregivers, with doctors, with nurses, with placement agents, with everybody. If it doesn't go just right the way you had planned in your mind, how you react to that person will have an impact more than just you. It will actually impact your loved one. So here's a big deal, guys. It turns out, I know it's a big secret, this Brookdale There's humans. And they mess up. They have bad days. Their kids get sick, their tires go flat, their pipes burst. And they may not every day be able to give you everything they hope for. And honestly, they're probably more disappointed than you are. We need to remember that the professionals we are working with, they make mistakes. And how we handle that has long-term repercussions. Now, I do a presentation, and Melody's been there. It's the flip side of this point. I do a presentation for professionals on how to better interact with family caregivers and explain to them that chaos, confusion, and guilt, and why sometimes as family caregivers, we can't make decisions or we're moving in the wrong direction, and try to help them give us grace. But this is the other side. We need to give grace to the professionals as well. So if something has gone wrong, you really kind of have two big choices to make. If whatever has gone wrong is not a life-threatening situation, it may be inconvenient, it may be counterintuitive, but if it's not life-threatening, give that person, that agency, that organization the opportunity to make it right. Be assertive, stand up for yourself. This is wrong. Give them a chance to apologize and make it right and move forward with the rest of your day or your afternoon or your week. Give them that chance. If it is a life-threatening situation, that's different. You report it. Talk to the person. If you're not comfortable talking to the person, you talk to their agency. If the agency doesn't seem to be moving forward, you go above them and talk to their licensing organization. If it's life-threatening and your loved one's life has been threatened by the bad actions of someone, they're probably doing it to someone else. But you need to rationally judge life-threatening versus non-life-threatening. The other piece of that communication, you know, we had assertive and aggressive and whiny and rude and all that, is a know-it-all. Because most of us are sure we know how to do someone else's job better than they do, because we just do. We were born with that innate sense of, I know what you should be doing and you're not doing it right. And if we come in with that attitude, it's not going to end well. So instead, even if you actually do know 80% of what they do, give them the opportunity to educate you on the other 20% and find out what you don't know. Give them that chance. So this little tidbit down here, for your own mental well-being, find 2 things to compliment for every complaint. Does not have to be for the same person, same organization, same situation. But when you are, a big word of the day, perseverating on that negative thing that went wrong, the bad meal that got brought to you, the wrongly cooked steak, and that's all you can think about, you are messing with your own body chemicals, with your hormones. You are doing bad things to the inside of your body. So find intentionally 2 things that make you smile, make you happy, make you grateful, make you content in that day. And it could be, okay, my meal was horrible. Oh my God, my ears are so soft. Right? Or the sky is so blue, or the view of the mountains is gorgeous. You have to find a way to rebalance some of that inside your body. Because as caregivers, honestly, we hoard that negative stuff in our bodies, and then our bodies quit and we get really sick. Not from personal experience or anything. We get laid flat. That's what happens to us. So what do? How do you better some of these interactions? And we're going to go through each one of these. And just so you guys know, you each have a sheet flyer that has the bullet points of most of these. So in case you want something to refer back to, you don't need all the slides because some of them are a little goofy, but I do have most of the good information on there. You get educated. Google is a good thing, you guys. You can look up home care versus home health. You can find out what a placement agent does. You can research what this rehab is all about and what services they offer. You can look into the truth behind hospice. Use Google. Do not fill out any forms online. You do your research, you gain your knowledge, and then the next step, you ask your go-to people. Who's that? Your family, friends, your neighbors, folks at church, your coworkers. If you're already engaged with one type of service, maybe you have home care and you're curious about hospice, because maybe in conversation you should have, ask your home care agency what hospices they like to work with. Get some recommendations. Don't fill out the forms online. Talk to your go-to people. Trust their intuitions. Get their information. Learn from their experiences. Comparison shop. I know this takes more time. I know it's an investment of your time and energy. But when I am talking to families and they really do need to start exploring hospice, I give them 3 at least, who I know serve their area, will serve their needs, do an amazing job. But I encourage them to talk to all 3. Because you learn something new in every conversation. And you might learn something with number 3 that triggers a follow-up question for number 1. And because in this industry, these are people you're going to spend some time with. You need to like them. You need to be willing to have those conversations. You need to be willing to interact and make sure this is someone who's a good fit. I'm giving recommendations. I know those people and those agencies. And I know all 3 will do right by you. But you're going to click maybe more with one than the other. Absolutely. Here's the big one, guys. Their licensure. People can tell you whatever they want to tell you. But between these 2 websites, and they're both on your sheet, between Dora and CDPAG, you can find the licensure information on pretty much every provider, from your dermatologist to your kidney specialist, to home care, to Brookdale, Meridian, Inglewood. And you can see how long have they been around? How'd their last, surprise check go? Where have there been any complaints? How did they respond to this? Do your homework. And I tell the professionals in the other presentation that I tell all of you to do this. And when I am meeting with any family, they get these links. Do your homework. Make sure who you're engaging with is who you think you're engaging with. Asking questions. Okay, so you've done your homework, you've talked to your go-to people, you have your 3 organizations. How do you advocate for your loved one? You ask me questions. How long has your company been around? Why is your company around? I like that one, especially in this industry, because it could be the founder had a bad experience with care for a grandmother 40 years ago. I want to make it right. Or someone had a really good experience in a different state and that service wasn't available here and they wanted to do that here. Or it could be, it's just a good business. Will it necessarily change your mind one way or the other? No, but it's good information to know. Who will be my direct contact? Is most likely the person coming into your home, talking to you about services, or the person in the office if you're going to a community, is probably not the person you're going to call at 2 a.m. when mom's throwing up. Who is going to be my contact person? As this process changes, how will I be handed down the line? What does that look like? Do you have a 24/7 on-call company? Or is one of your staff on call 24/7 and it rotates? Who's going to be at the other side of that phone when I make that phone call? How often will your organization be checking in with me? If I have no complaints, if nothing's going wrong, do they have a system in place to check in with me after the first week, the first month, the first quarter, the first 6 months, the first year? Some do and some don't. Good question to know. What's your client to staff ratio? How many hospice patients is each nurse responsible for overseeing? How many caregivers will be on the floor for how many memory care residents? And how many of those caregivers are CNAs versus non-CNAs? It's good information to know. And you who ask those questions, you are advocating, you are shopping for services for your loved one. Talking to maybe a physician or an RN. Is this treatment actually safe for my loved one? It might be on your check boxes. This is the next course of action. But if you factored in the dementia, if you factored in the mobility, if you factored in the fact that I take care of this person 24/7, does this really make sense? And are there going to be side effects of this treatment medication? You can ask all those questions and you're not being rude. You're advocating for your loved one and honestly for yourself. If during that interaction, you're kind of feeling like you're being shoved in a corner because they're telling you what to do, not making suggestions for your next course of action, you're talking to the wrong person. You can find someone else. There are other providers out there who will work with you instead of work at you. And it's the last thing you need is intimidation on top of all the other things you have going on. You need someone to walk this with you, not shove you through something. This is a big deal. You are the expert on your loved one. And this is a personal example for me. So my mother-in-law was very prone to UTIs. We didn't realize how many she had been non-medically compliant with before we moved her into our home. There were double kidney infections. It was a whole mess. Got her kind of on a solid baseline after a while. But I'm the one who took her blood sugar every morning. I'm the one who took her blood pressure every morning. I'm the one who lived with her 24/7, and I could see it coming. Okay, there's a UTI on its way. Her bacteria is increasing, and we were very antibiotic resistant, so there was constant, but we could see when it was spiking. And at first, I would call the doctor and say, "Hey, I think we need to do a urinalysis." Well, is she experiencing pain on urination? She in discomfort now. Is there a fever? What makes you think? Well, her blood sugar numbers have been high for the last 2 days, her blood pressure's up, and I'm not trying to be rude, but we called it mean grandma. She was just a little more. And we knew, right? And they wouldn't let us come in. We had to wait till something else happened. Something medical had to happen first. Until finally I got fed up with it. It's like, can you just order the test? We live a mile away. I will come in, we will do the peeing in the cup thing, and then you can let me know if I'm wrong. They did. That's right. So then we got to the point where I could call and say, things are changing, and we could not have to deal with the fever or the pain. You are your loved one's expert. They may not fit the check boxes for everybody else. And this obviously, just the more educated you are, the more questions you ask, the better prepared you are for these conversations and to make a good decision. You and your loved one have rights. I am betting that somewhere in an elevator in this building is the resident's rights. I posted somewhere. If a provider coming to your home and they're going to provide home care or home health, one of those pieces of paper you get, it's rights. It's resident rights. Come to the community, there are resident rights. Read it. Read it. Know what your loved one's rights are. Know that, first of all, you have choice. You or your loved one could have been on Kaiser for the last 30 years. You do not have to use Kaiser hospice. Choice. You can sign up with one hospice and things might change, and you can shift to a different hospice. We did. Things changed. Management was just a little different. It wasn't what it used to be. So we changed hospice organizations. We were on hospice for 3.5 years. It's a whole other conversation about how to properly use hospice. But you don't have to stick with something that's not working. You can call and ask for a different caregiver. You can change home care. You have choice. You don't have to take the first suggestion. You have to speak up. Again, what does your loved one need? Speak on their behalf. Ask the questions that they can't, and then not deal with that. Don't alienate people, right? This little bit here is something my kids have been raised on. It never hurts to ask. As long as you're not going to go through a fit if you don't get the answer you want. You can ask, they know, they can ask me for anything. But if I say no, worse off. They just got an answer they didn't want. You need to think in that same way. You can ask, hey, will this treatment prolong life? Will this treatment cure them? Will this treatment do this? And if the answer is no, have more information now. Okay, ask questions. Even if you get an answer you may not like. The whole point is you asked, you advocated. Yes, sir.
So what happens when the caregiver and the client or the family member don't have differing opinions as to what they want?
We're going to get to that. Excellent question. I'm going to slip this $20 later. He gets more Tootsie Rolls. Right here. Keep it about your care recipient. This is hard. This is heart-wrenching, right? But as caregivers, if we're truly going to advocate for our loved one, it needs to be about what's best for them. And what's best for them may not be what we want. What's best for them may not be what the doctors say. And again, I'm going to give you an example. We had kidney issues. Our nephrologist, kidney doctor, wanted to make sure we were doing an ultrasound or a sonogram to make sure there weren't cysts. That sounds like a really good idea. You should do that. How many of you have been mothers, have been pregnant, have gone on to the ultrasound where you have to drink 182 gallons of water and then you have to lay down and take when you're trying not to pee? I had to do that to my mother-in-law. who has some confusion and dementia and mobility issues, and I had to get her to keep drinking. We went through this whole testing process, and there was a lot of waiting and a lot of moving, a lot of getting on a table. And she was scared. She didn't like it. Why are we doing this? When I went home, it was like, okay, if cysts on her kidneys had been found, well, the way to treat that is surgery. We weren't going to do surgery. That wasn't going to be a thing in our future. It wouldn't have been a thing if she had been making her own decisions. We knew that. And so at the next time we saw the nephrologist, she's like, oh, this is great. No cysts on her kidneys. Great, let's do this again in 6 months. No, that's not in her best interest. Not in my best interest, which makes it not in her best interest. But if we are going through all of these things and putting her through all of this stuff, and we're not going to engage in the solution, why are we looking for the problem? If she ends up being in pain, if there's discomfort at some point, we can treat that. But surgery is not an option. So keeping it about your care recipient, that's a tough conversation to have. And there are services that can help. Sometimes you need to advocate within your own family, right? You may have a situation where mom's declining and 3 out of 4 adult children are on board. There's that one, right? No, we have to do everything we can. We need to do this. We need to do surgery. We need to do more treatment. We need to do more of this because we can't give up on mom. It's so hard because it's not giving up on you. It's allowing some things to take their course. And mom might be okay. You know, mom might be okay with this. This may have been what mom had wanted if mom was making her decisions, but that one holdout, it makes it really tough. Yes.
I'm dealing with this right now. I have an aunt who has significant dementia. I mean, really significant. She knows who I am. She knows who my brother is. She knows who my dad is, who's the brother. But that's it. And she was living in a community that was not a good one for her. I think she lost a lot of stuff there. And then when we moved her into a beautiful, wonderful place, she immediately got COVID and a UTI. So then she had to go to the hospital for 8 or so days. So that was really problematic. So she lost more in that. She's been back for a while, but she doesn't know anything. And she really is losing so much dignity. I had a situation with toileting with her this weekend. And she's on blood thinner because she got some blood clots because of the COVID and on some heart medicine. She's 85. I am a big believer, and you'll hear this when I talk. Probably have already heard this from me. I think death is a terrible thing. Okay. And the biggest problem that I'm facing right now is that my family, I'm not the decider, although we're all powers of two. I'm not the decider. But this. And she should be able to make her decision on her own. And there is absolutely no way that my lovely, kind, easy to get along with aunt can conceptualize this stuff. And I don't know how to navigate.
Yeah, it's hard to keep sitting in the center. It's funny, I have a graphic, I don't have it here, but when I'm working with families, especially doing it online, there's a graphic of moms in the middle. And it could be dad, whoever is. And right in the center of the page is dad. There's the geography, the finances, the family, the faith, the culture around it. And I start showing how all these things are intertwined. Geography, it affects finances, it affects family involvement, which affects family relationships. And dad starts fading. It's all these cross references. And then there's even more. And all of a sudden, all we're talking about is the stuff, and dad's nowhere in this equation anymore. And it's important to see that visual because people are like, oh, all these conversations we're having around, we're no longer focused on mom or dad anymore. So go ahead.
From a doctor's point of view, the truth is that 80% of our total lifetime expenditures are in the last 20% of our life. So there's so much money in the dying process that the doctor is gonna keep you alive at all costs. Because they make so much money, and that's what they're instructed.
See, I need to slip him some more Tootsie Rolls.
The other thing is they learn so little about death. They only learn about keeping people alive.
That's it.
Definitely. So when we're talking about that one kid out of 4, it's really, really, really hard to realize that one's you. And that's a little earth shattering. When your thought process is, well, everyone's trying to kill off grandma. I'm the only one fighting to keep her alive. Take a good look at that. See what that looks like. But again, there's counseling and mediation that specializes in this. I get everybody on a Zoom and get them all on the same page. I'm not a counselor or mediator, but I can lay out some realities. And then there's always legal action, which we're going to talk about in a minute too. All right, legal documentation. Each of these slides is pretty much a whole hour presentation in and of itself. So I'm sorry if it seems like I'm going through some of these quickly. I do the advanced care planning presentation for the aging mastery class for a couple different places. So I talk about this for an hour. Get this much time. Living will. What you want when you can't speak for yourself. That's an advocate's job, right? Medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney, 2 different things. That you same person, you can have those in place. Because if you don't have those in place in time, somebody's going to court, getting conservatorship, guardianships. It's a lot of money, there's a lot of rules, there's a lot of regulation. You may lose some control even though you think you're gaining control. So these powers of attorney are really, really important, not only for your care recipient, but for you. All those negative chemicals and hormones and things we're doing, we're not taking care of ourselves, we might have problems, or a loved one does. So we need to have these in place as well. I do want to touch on CPR directed and DNR order because a lot of people don't know there's a difference. You're going in for surgery and the doctor says, do you want to sign your DNR? Do you want extreme measures? You code on the table and you say, no, it's my time, it's my time. You sign DNR. Surgery goes great, you're fantastic. You go through rehab, life is wonderful. You're home for a week or so and you go to the grocery store and you collapse. Somebody's going to call 911. EMTs are going to come. They are required to resuscitate you if they can. And you wake up in the hospital like, I have a DNR. DNR ended when you left the hospital after surgery. DNR is for while you were in that facility. If you do not want to be resuscitated when you're out and about living your life, you need a CPR directive document for you and your physician. You can do a little bracelet, you can do a little necklace, you can do a little something. So when someone at the grocery store calls EMTs on you, they come resuscitate you and they see the verification of a CPR directive. They'll take care of you. I'm not going to leave you on the floor of the grocery store, but they won't resuscitate because you have a CPR directive, right? But you legally removed their obligation to resuscitate you. So, little thing to look into. Google is your friend. Don't fill out forms online. HIPAA. HIPAA is a beautiful thing. Protects your medical information, keeps it private. HIPAA is a device for a family caregiver. Oh my goodness. And I was the primary caregiver. My husband was POA. This was my world. This was my language. I went to all the doctor's offices. I got all the information. I couldn't get all the information. We had Kaiser at the time. I jumped through all of the Kaiser HIPAA hoops. Oh, there were a lot. We thought we were done. There'd be one more form. However, going through that process, getting all of the signatures meant I could call. I'm calling on behalf of Kathleen. Here's her number. Here's her birthday. Here's my name. I'll wait. You're in her system. What can we help you with? What questions can we answer? What do you need to share with us today? I can do it all. So it is well worth jumping through all the HIPAA hoops before your crisis to make sure that the person you are making decisions for, you can do that, or the person you want making decisions for you, especially if they're not your local POA, can do that. Okay. I'm going to talk about the medical professionals. These are situations in which you may need to advocate for someone, and they're a little bit different. Medical professionals, doctors have been trained to fix and cure. That is how they go through school. Now, there is better palliative training. I truly believe there are medical physicians who want to help you have that good death. And they know when it's time to back off, but most of them don't. And it can be kind of an ugly conversation. Not every medication is a solution. We changed medications once and I call it for 5 days and we're done. I'm done. Because what this was supposed to help, the side effects are more than we can handle. And there was no, I'll give it 20 days or something. There wasn't that kind of a medication. We're done. We're done. Not every treatment is realistic. Again, checking for kidney cysts when you're not going to go through surgery doesn't make any sense. End of life is not usually their kind of thing. If you are engaging with hospice will go with you to your PCP if you want them to have that conversation. We did that. And the doctor told my husband, if I sign this document, you're giving up on your dad. You're just waiting for him to die. I got that phone call. We changed doctors. Hello, you can change, you have choice, we can change doctors. You can be persistently, but politely, sweetly. You're not getting the answers you want. Being rude and aggressive is not going to fix your problem. Being whiny is not going to fix it. Be persistent. You go, I'm calling you, Dad. I called yesterday. I was wondering if we can get this thing fixed today. I'll call again tomorrow, or this afternoon. Eventually, they will want to get you what you need. Caregivers, whether they are coming into your home, this is the professional caregivers, or they are in the community where your loved one lives. Gotta cover that. They are people. Things happen. Their days go sideways. Things go wrong. That being said, you're giving them grace. They're professionals and they should look and act the part. They should be able to manage their own hygiene. They're going to manage your loved one's hygiene. Should be able to wear clean clothes. At least start the day out that way. They may not end the day that way. If they're going to help your loved one do that. Right? We had a caregiver situation where a caregiver came to our front door. I really needed to leave the house. This thing had been on the schedule for a long time. And this person who came to my door, wow, couldn't take care of herself. It was very obvious. It was bad. I wanted to cancel, but I couldn't. I had children depending upon me. That was the last shift we had with that entire agency. There was no second chances for that one. Because I did not believe that this person they sent to my door was capable of taking care of herself, much less two adults who needed help with everything. So we made it a very short evening. Her shift was very short, and we were done. I didn't call, like I'm done. I should not have to explain myself with this on another agency. Communication. Funny thing about the people, most people are not telepathic. They can't walk into your home for that home care shift knowing that the reason your mom with some confusion is probably going to be agitated between 10:30 and 11 is because she didn't eat me dinner last night, didn't want breakfast this morning, and she can't verbalize to you that she's hungry. You're just seeing all these acting out behaviors. You need to tell your caregivers what's going on. You need to communicate with them, and you need to ask them questions. You come into moms, dads, and you go down and that's obviously sure that maybe you weren't there last night, dinner didn't go so good, but he's you noticed that shirt's a little dirty. What happened? Oh yeah, dinner was a bit of a challenge and he refused to take that shirt off last night. We cleaned it up as good as we can, but he was not going to go to bed unless he had that shirt on. We don't know what the deal was, but we made sure he was as clean as he could be, and he slept great last night. So when he has a shower this afternoon, we'll make sure he's in a shirt. That is actually a very reasonable explanation in a memory care community. Yeah. But had you just seen the dirty shirt and you assume you're not taking care of my dad, how come you have to change his shirt? He's filthy. What's going on here? You guys have to be care. You gave great care. Make sure dad got a good night's sleep. They're gonna make sure he gets a shower. They're gonna get his first food. You walk in and mom's socks don't match. Really? My kids do that on purpose. It's a thing. Yes. So communicate in both directions. Discharge meetings. Let me check my time. I know I'm running short.
And a person mentioned in the chat, is a DNR on my fridge at home good enough to direct EMTs not to resuscitate?
They want to make sure it's a CPR directive or possibly a most form. As long as it's something that's signed ideally by a physician, that will make a difference. If it's just, I don't want to be resuscitated, well, your grandson could have put that on the fridge. needs to be some kind of verified, and the most form is ideal because it's bright neon crazy green, and EMTs are trained to take a look for that. So it might be enough, but you want to make sure. From your physician, you can find them online sometimes. Most care providers, home care, even home health hospice will have those as well, because it needs to be a conversation. And your physician may have it with their office too, but if you want certain things that may go against the cultural norm, they want to make sure you know what you're doing and you're making a sound decision. Discharge meetings, advocacy. Whether it's discharge from hospital or discharge from rehab, discharge meetings are phenomenal. So much good information is given in a discharge meeting. Good information is received in a discharge meeting. Because as a family member, you know that that discharge nurse, that discharge planner, that social worker is telling you about the new medications and why the home health agency is going to be calling you and when to expect your first nurse visit. And all you can think of is, ready for this? I don't know if I can get her up the front stoop. I'm gonna have to help her in the bathroom now. I don't know if I can do that. Oh, okay, all right, thank you. It's terrifying. Then you get home and you realize you have no idea what just got said. As an advocate, you need to just be aware of that. You're not gonna hear it all. Bring in the paper and the pen. Better yet, all of these will record. Take a video, take a sound recording so you can listen to it again. Ask questions, ask for clarification, ask for demonstration. If you hear something about a new medication, I'm sorry, can you tell me what that medication is for and how long will he be needing to be on that medication and how frequently are there side effects? I'm gonna have to help her on the toilet. Can you show me what you mean? Ask to be shown, because when you're sitting there in an ADA compliant room with an ADA bathroom, like, oh yeah, you're just gonna go over, you're just gonna help them sit down, it'll be fine. And you say, yeah, but our bathroom is about this big, and I'm not, what specifically do I need to do? Ask for clarification and demonstration that you need. You have every right to do that. You're advocating for your loved one's best interest and quite frankly for your own, so you don't get hurt helping with some of these things. Social workers and managers. Guys, these are people who really, really, really want to do right by you, and they have this much time to do that much work for each patient. So you, as your loved one's advocate, may need to step up. So you might be in the hospital, something has gone wrong, and you have this person come into you and say, "Your mom is discharged Tuesday." It's Friday night. Here's a list of the rehab that she can go to. Okay, the fuzzier that produces, the more cockeyed that produces, the more obvious times it's been recopied, the older it is. But that's the resources that that social worker has. That's the best at the moment that they can actually do with the resources they have and the time that they have. So you know there's a great rehab that got built about 2 miles from your house last year. Make the phone call. All over there. Hi, this is Amanda. My mom's at St. Anthony's. She has Humana insurance, and I was wondering if after her hip replacement, can she do rehab at your facility? Well, they might say, no, normally she could. I'm so sorry, we have no beds. I have an answer. Oh, I'm so sorry, we don't take that insurance. But please keep us in mind if you ever change that insurance. Or it might be, yes, absolutely. We would love to have your mom come over. What can we do to help make this happen? It wasn't on the list you got, but you advocated for your loved one. Okay, I had some advantages in this. When you do hospice respite, is a thing. Hospice respite has to happen in a skilled nursing facility. And we thought we had a pipe burst in our basement. You don't want to take care of someone when you have no water in your house. So I was calling around, and we do this. And this hospice that I knew and loved, gave me a list of places. But I don't want anyone's places. I want them to go to this other place. I called. Granted, I had some connections that made it easier, but anyone can call. and say, hey, we're on this hospice. This is my father-in-law. Would you guys take a contract with this hospice to do SNF hospice respite? Yeah, send it over. We'll sign it right away. I didn't have to go with the list. You can advocate.
Will you get a little closer to the
Oh,
microphone?
sorry. I wander and I talk big. Okay, we're almost done here, I promise. Care communities. Brookdale, Juniper, privately owned, whatever it is, do your research. You are still a caregiver if you are not cut out to be the one taking someone to the bathroom at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know that about yourself, you acknowledge that about yourself, and maybe it's time for memory care, maybe it's time for assisted living. But as their caregiver, as their advocate, you do your research. You talk to a placement agent whose job it is to know the market, to understand the finances. Is your preferred community one that will allow a spend down if they're there long enough to transition to Medicaid? Is the care community you would really love to have grandma in going to keep her if she becomes incontinent in 18 months? Or is she going to have to find a new place to live? These are all questions and factors that play into this bigger decision. You need some perspective and to have someone help you step back and look at this big decision. Do the research. Go to the door on the CDPAG site, see what the history is on these care communities. And if you have them in care, show up. Because even though it's contrary to what we want to believe, if Sally's daughter shows up at 10 o'clock every Tuesday morning to take Sally out for brunch, Sally's going to get a little extra special care that morning. She's going to be a little spiffed up, prettied up. They're going to make sure she's ready to go with her daughter. And if Dave's son comes every Thursday evening to take him to men's Bible study, Dave's going to get that extra special attention and be there because they know you're going to show up. And ideally, Eunice's son randomly shows up 4 or 5 times a week. We don't know when he's coming. We don't know when or how or what night or what it's going to look like, but we're going to make sure she's ready for when he comes. Show up. Be there for your loved ones and pay attention. One is the only one who and everyone else not so much. Maybe you got to kind of think about what happens when you're out there. Be aware of their surroundings. Make sure they aren't just catering to you and there's other things going on. But appreciate the work they are doing. Because if you've reached a point that mom can't be home on her own, dad can't live in your house anymore, it's not safe. You can't be the one getting up 4 times a night to take them to the bathroom. You have brought your loved one to this care community so they can help do what you aren't able to do or it's just not feasible for you to do. Appreciate that. Be grateful, have conversations, treat those professional caregivers like humans, be grateful for what they're doing and engage with them and find out what you don't know about your loved one. So be very, very appreciative. Last one, and I hate saving this for last, but if I start with this, we won't get to anything else. It's on your flyer. You cannot take care of someone else if you do not take care of yourself. Whether you're a professional caregiver or a family caregiver, I'm going to say it again, it'll be really annoying. You cannot take care of someone else if you do not take care of yourself. You have to get to your appointments. Doctors, dentist appointment, get your hair cut, have a massage. Feels very indulgent, feels very wrong. Do it anyway. Okay. You must prioritize your sleep and your exercise and your nutrition. And it feels impossible. I slept on a couch for years because my mother-in-law would laying down trigger her bladder. Woman could go 18 hours without needing to feed. All night, 2 to 4 times a night. And you've got to sleep more than that. Don't have baby hormone going and helping you counter-regulate any of that. If you need to hire someone to be there at night and be the person to take them to the bathroom, you do that. You need to hire a caregiver or have a neighbor come over or have your sister come over so you can go to the gym and meet your friend for coffee. You have to do that. And it feels so wrong. It really, really does. I know that from personal experience. It feels wrong. It feels self-indulgent. We don't take care of us. We take care of them. That is what we do. But then we fall apart. I ended up with a double ear infection and sinus infection. You know what it feels like when your head actually wants to explode? And you're not taking care of anybody. And I did it wrong again for a couple more years. I ended up with laryngitis and bronchitis on top of each other. And I coughed so hard, I tore the cartilage in my ribs. You know how much help I was there for the next couple months? Nah. I needed to take better care of myself. So I am a huge advocate for this. And your self-care may look different than mine. I had a phase where I had to watch my mother-in-law at all times. You can only fold so many socks. I was sitting on the couch watching them watch TV. I took a knitting class and then I took a crochet class. And I had a stupid amount of yarn in my house, people, but it gave me something to do and feel productive. It fed my brain while I was sitting there watching her. Gave me something to do. I felt like I was contributing to something. Talk to someone. You need a person. It might be a sibling. It might be a friend. It might be someone from church. You need a person who you can go up to and say, this wasn't my life. And they're not going to judge you for it. They're not going to say, well, want her to die. But that's not what you're saying. You wish this wasn't your loved one's life. You wish dad wasn't struggling with dementia. You wish mom didn't have to be in the wheelchair. You wish all of these things. You wish this. It's okay to say, I wish this wasn't my life right now. Because you wish it wasn't there. You wish all of this would go away. And you have words and phrases and complaints buzzing around in your head, singing in your brain all the time. And sometimes they need to come out of your mouth. But you need to pick your person very carefully. They're not going to judge you. They're going to support you. They're going to hug you and love you and say, go get them, you know, or how can I support you? Or let me bring you coffee tomorrow. But you need someone who you can be brutally honest with and let those words out in order to take care of your own mental well-being. So how you do this may look different for everybody. My special magic thing, I had to be out of my house for 3 nights. Took me a couple of years to work up to that. So at first I was like, I just need to get away. I need to not be on someone else's bladder schedule, bowel schedule, eating schedule, anything schedule. I need to be on my own. I need a hotel. One night in a hotel, you're so ramped up, you don't sleep, you go back worse. Try to get a couple months later. Apparently I need 2. Sorry, planning ahead and doing all this. I took 2. First night, still ramped up, can't sleep. Second night, sick as a dog. Migraine, nausea, all that negative crud. Didn't know what to do with itself because I was done doing. I wasn't writing it. 3 nights. Guys, you know how much prep it takes to make sure your other 6 humans are going to be okay while the primary caregiver is out of the house for 3 nights? Same thing though. First night, couldn't sleep, all jacked up. Second night, sick, nausea, headaches like you wouldn't believe. Third night, slept like a baby. Slept so good. Woke up the next morning, ready to go home. And so we learned the hard way. I could sometimes take 1 kid with me, but I needed 3 nights out of my house. It's different for everybody, and you have to try it. But it made a big difference. It let me keep my sanity and, you know, not hurt people. Because sometimes that's what you're thinking. 3 nights for me was a big deal. So the rest of this, I'm not done. We're not going to go through this. It's on the back of your sheet. What I do in care time, some of those acronyms that I have behind my name. But my hope is that maybe you took something away from this to tell yourself, tell a loved one, to tell a friend on advocating for someone. Yes, sir.
How do you get paid?
My services are private pay. I'm hoping maybe someday I'll be covered by insurance, but I'm not. So I do a Zoom option. It's a 90-minute Zoom and it's prepaid. It's $150. It's about bringing family on the same page at the same time. It's broad strokes of what reality is as a caregiver. And then I also have a much more involved, more detailed engagement I do with families. And that too is private paid ahead of time. And then I work them through a process. So yeah. Yep. Any other questions? So I feel like it stopped really abruptly, but I'm not going to give you all my credentials. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't know what a respite was till I worked for Brookdale. This is a true story and so funny. But what Amanda's saying about being a caretaker, take care of yourself first. So there was a daughter and her husband, they had 5 kids, lived in the Urbana area. And then mom and dad had disposed wanting to come for Christmas. And mom got to stay with the daughter, right? And the daughter was like, I've got 5 kids, full-time job, 3-bedroom home. No. So her mom kicking, screaming, scowl, but you have to do what's best for you. And so she said, you know, so she put her at a Brookdale in a respite, and the mom, the husband just kind of went along with it, the father. But the mother was like, yeah, the whole time. Long story short, the mom never saw the daughter and son-in-law over Christmas or New Year's. They were going gambling to the casino. She had happy hour. They were going to dinner theater. They became residents. So the daughter was like, you came here to see me for Christmas. And she had to take the grandkids to the community because she's like, I've got happy hour at 4, so I've got like a small window. This is a true story. You do what's best for you, and
Absolutely.
yeah,
And there are
residents are
resources.
wonderful.
There's respite resources. There's a Colorado Respite Coalition, and caregiving families can get $1,000 grant each year to pay for respite. Now, it has to be with the communities that are on the list or with the home care agencies that are on the list. And $1,000 is not going to cover a week or two, but it adds an extra weekend, maybe, perhaps. And there are some care communities, and I'm going to put Melody on the spot because I don't know how this Brookdale works, but some it's like it's a 30-day minimum for respite. I don't refer my people to those because as a family caregiver, a week or two outside of your normal caregiving routine, it takes like 3 months to get back to normal. It's just a thing. So I actually talk to communities and I explain from a family caregiver perspective what 30 days away does to a family caregiving situation. But we have to acknowledge that the community, it's the same amount of paperwork, it's a whole lot of work. They're getting to know a new person, the new routines and new likes and dislikes for a short amount of time. But I always try to pitch, well, it's a great way to show off your community. Because there are respite resources, no matter what your financial situation is. There's Medicaid respite. I just learned about that like 2 years ago. It's a thing. There's hospice respite that you can use more than once a year. There's things you can do to give yourself a break that you have. Yes.
Will you go back a couple slides? People want to see the stuff that you said is on the sheet.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So these are things that I can help families with. These are some of the conversations we have. My company does not do the care. I don't have caregivers on my payroll, but I educate a family on what caregiving can look like, from hiring their own private caregiver to engaging with what in Colorado is a Class B non-medical home care agency, and the difference between engaging with a franchised option versus a privately owned option, or what's Class A, which is medical care. And some agencies have both licenses, and why that might be an advantage in some situations. So we talk about all these differences. We talk about the realities of hospice. We talk about the realities of placement. We talk about the levels of care. Basically, I do a really long intake with my families. I have 6 to 8 pages of questions depending on their situation. So I really know what's going on and who's involved and what their support's like. And then I help them fill in their gaps and help them find a path forward for themselves. And this next one here, I have a lot of alphabet soup behind my name, and that's what it all means. BSW, Bachelor of Social Work. I am a certified senior advisor. It's a national certification. I'm a certified Alzheimer educator. I don't do presentations on Alzheimer's. I use that more when I'm talking to families. I'm an advanced care planning guide. So CPR directives and DNRs and living wills and POAs, and the importance of the conversation is critical to me. QMAP means I can pass meds. I can pass meds in Colorado. I can pass meds in Iowa. I did in California before there were rules. I can't make you a QMAP. I can't certify you. I'm not going to pass your loved one's meds. I'm not going to sort them for you. I will teach you best practices and help you know that, and this is the conversation I had, you know, the pillboxes, 7 days. They would wait till the last day, and then they'd match up all the pills with the other things that were empty. That's not okay. Some meds are different doses, different days. Some meds skip days. Some meds when they're needed. You need to gain a couple days going. Don't just fill them up. So we talk about best practices. And CLIP is a certified living in place professional. I have a network of folks from designers to maintenance men, handymen who are trained beyond ADA. Universal design. Why you want when you're redoing your bathroom, have an electrical outlet behind your toilets. Because bidets or seats that help you stand up might be something important, or light back there or something like that. So if you're going to redo something, or you want to look at something brand new, universal design. Way to go, not just ADA. So, and we were caregivers for 7.5 years in our home. So to put that in perspective, my daughter was going into 4th grade when we started, and she was a junior in high school when my father-in-law passed away. My mother-in-law passed away a couple years before. Think about that. 4th grade to a junior at high school. Basically, all of her known life, we were caregivers. So that's a little different than just hearing 7.5 years. That was her life. So that's what these pages were for, but that's also what the back.
Thank you,
Any
thank
questions?
you.
We're good? All right, thank you guys for being here.
And don't forget, if you'd like to take a tour, please do. Next week, we have Dr. Kim Fisher, who is an anesthesiologist, but she's really going to talk about how to talk to your doctors, that you don't have to do everything on the medical train, all kinds of stuff. I think that's going to be a really good one. If you have other friends who'd like to join us in person, please invite them. And I'm just grateful you're here, and Melody, it's such a delicious, delicious lunch. Those croissants, I could die. I just wanted to. No, thank you, but I would like to. But I'm not going to. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for coming. You're saying.
Thank you, everybody, for coming online.
Thanks, everybody.
When they're on sale.
I'm gonna turn this off.